Hey everybody, good morning, good afternoon. It's Tisha back with your Tisha Talks live at 10:45 show. Very excited that it's Friday. I hope you are too. We've got a very special guest joining us in just a little bit. Steve Spiro out of Connecticut, the master connector himself, is going to be tuning in with me, and we're going to be diving into a discussion about the power of real connection. And I think if you know me, you know that connection is like my superpower. Like I was sharing, and Steve, you probably saw this, that the ultimate connector and the master connector are all in the same room. And what are we going to talk about? And it's going to be super epic. So you are in for a treat if you're wondering, how do I make real connections that last a lifetime? So Steve and I will be diving into that. If you are tuning into this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, even on Steve's LinkedIn and his YouTube, welcome. Hello. If you have not been to a Tisha Talks live show, you're in for a real treat. It's very high energy. It's good conversation. You're going to learn some things. You can also ask us questions along the way. We do invite conversation, and we'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line, say hi, give us a quick hello, where you're from, and we'd love to have you. And so don't be shy. The phone lines are open, so to speak, or the chat line is open. And before we get started, I always like to start off with some announcements. If you are in the Phoenix area, which is where I'm at, specifically in Gilbert Chandler, I do host an event. I just hosted it this past Tuesday. It's called Social Connect, and I've simplified it this year. So Social Connect Simplified takes place, save the date, March 26th. From 4 to 6 p.m. at Courthouse in Chandler. It's another local business that I love being at. And you can also join the community at socialconnect.world if you're in the Phoenix area. It's a great place to meet all of those lovely folks that you've been coming in contact with and learn more about their business and just support each other, and also keep up to date on some of the events that I'm having. The other thing that's coming up next month is Connecting Through Community. I am doing a food bank drive, kind of a assembly line, if you will, with Midwest Food Bank. They're another local nonprofit. Actually, they started out in Chicago and have expanded throughout the U.S. But Midwest Food Bank, great organization to be a part of. Friends, family, even kids, welcome to join us. We'll be there at 5 p.m. on February 27th. I'll put more details in the comments in a bit, but make sure you grab a spot for that if you would like to be a part of that. And of course, you know how we like to do it. It's a Friday. Let's get your dancing shoes on, and we'll be right back in 45 seconds. Hey, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that little dance party to kick off your Friday, are in a very good mood. I know I am. I know we see some people that are already joining us on LinkedIn. Thanks for being here. Michelle saying good morning. Excited to listen today. Nat Handler coming in saying good morning, Tisha. Haven't been here in a while. Well, welcome back, Nat. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Yes, of course. And Gary Rogers, he's out in Florida. You invite convo. I don't know what that means, but cool. And your last, and then of course, Royce joining me out here in Arizona. Good morning, Royce. Always a pleasure seeing you. Royce is like my longtime fan that comes to the show every single Friday. So I love that you're here, and your presence does not go unnoticed, Royce. Thank you so much for being here. Well, without further ado, let's bring in our special guest. This is Mr. Steve Spiro. Met him while we were on a live stream together. I think with Mr. Russ Hedge, wasn't it? It was a while ago.
Sure it was. Yes, absolutely. Hey, good morning, Tish. How you doing? Actually, it's afternoon for me, but yeah, it's good seeing you.
Yeah, good to see you too. I know. How is it in Connecticut these days?
A little dreary, a little rainy, but it's Friday, and I call Friday. I used to do a video post called Fire Friday Master Connector Tips. So it's Fire Friday. Here we are.
Fire Friday. Yes, Fire Friday. I love it because I'll often invite people to be guests on my show. And I'm like, it's Tisha Talks live on Fridays at 10:45. And they're always like, can we record that on a Wednesday at 2? And I'm like, I don't know if you caught it. It's Tisha Talks live at 10:45. Like it's kind of catchy, yeah? So it just makes me laugh. I'm like, no, but that's a great thought. When you can join me on a Friday, let's do it. And they're like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand. Now I understand. Well, awesome. Okay, let's see. Gary says here was joking. You said we invite conversation. Oh yeah, well we do. We invite conversation.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a conversation with us, make sure you drop us a chat line. And yeah, look at this. You already have some fans. Love Steve Spiro, Royce Blake.
Hey, love you too, Roy.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's get this show started, Steve. What do you say?
Absolutely. Well, I got to say this. What's going on, Steve Spiro, the master connector, coming at you live and direct? Got to say that,
Yes. Live and direct. All right. Okay. So here we go. Today we're going to be talking about the power of real connection. And if you saw kind of the promo that I put up when I announced that Steve is going to be my guest, I'm like, what do you get when you have an ultimate connector and the master connector all in the same room? Well, virtually, of course. And I said, you get one epic conversation about what is connection and why does it matter and why is it important? So we're going to be diving into some of those questions. And again, if you have questions throughout this broadcast, make sure you drop them in the chat. We'd love to listen and answer those for you. But all right, Steve, first question, like what does it mean to be others focused and why is it important? And I've heard a lot of things like you meet some of those people that are whiffums, the what's in it for me type of folks, and they go to an event and they're like, if I don't get anything, it was worthless. And I'm like, okay, well, I beg to differ. So I'd love to hear from you. I've never really heard that term others focused, but I'm really digging it. I like it.
It's interesting. I could go in so many directions with this conversation, this piece of it. And I'm a big believer in in Bob Berg and the Go Giver book. And
Yes.
others focused is really the layman version of the Go Giver, right? It's just being others focused and focusing on others. And so for me, just a little backstory, I was picked on, bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic. I had a really low self-esteem for a very long time. And when you're wounded, all you are thinking about is self-protection. You're in protection mode. And and we were talking backstage in the green room about TEDx, and eventually I'll be on a TEDx stage. And the working topic, I appreciate that. And the working topic is, weakness, there's power. And for years and years, I was so weak in protecting and being, closed off and not letting people feel my challenges and my vulnerabilities and some of the things, my inadequacies. And so when things started to shift, I started to heal a little bit and became others focused on other people, led with that authenticity, that, the word I'm trying to say.
Authenticity.
Thank you. And being able to just really focus on others, things started to change and it became powerful. My confidence, my connections became powerful. And it was a combination of being authentic and real and transparent, along with being others focused. But we live in a world where, forgive the vulgarity here, we get pitch slapped. We get pitch slapped, and it's horrible. And some part of my life, I do some business development, and I see what comes at me too, and it's like, hey, you want to get married before we even had our first date? I mean, come on, let's get to know each other first. And so when I do networking, connecting, I'm always trying to be others focused. So I'm trying to find out, first of all, I want to know about you. I want to learn your story. I love starting conversations with, hey, I want to hear your story, your journey, not just what you do, but the born and raised. I'm re-listening to a book. I love the book. I re-listening to it the last week or so. I've realized how much I enjoy the book. It's really old school book. It's How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Betcher.
Ooh.
It's really good. Classic. I mean, I think he was, like from the 20s of the 1920s, not the 20s of this century, right? But just a really good book. And he talks about like he insurance salesman. Obviously, none of us are that, but not that there's anything wrong with that. But he would go into a sales call and, Mr. Betcher, I'm not interested in sales. And he paused and he looks around and he said, Mr. Smith, how in the world did you get into this line of work?
Mm-hmm.
3 hours later, the guy was going to kick him out, but 3 hours later, he's still talking, and he says, what do you do again?" And he wound up getting a sale, and it's because he was interested in that other person instead of trying to sell them or pitch them. And it's just been very, very valuable for me to be others focused. It's been very rewarding. I felt during COVID, the lockdown, I was probably felt more connected than ever before because I was
Yeah.
going into these conversations being others focused.
Yeah. So I love that term pitch slap. And I've actually done a whole video of it. Like, so this was a couple of years ago, and I featured it on my profile. So you kind of have to dig to find it. But I was catfished, pitch slapped, all in one.
Wow.
Like a woman had her VA send me a message as her, and then
Oof.
got me on her calendar with something that was really appealing to me. And I was like, "Ooh, I like this woman. I want to connect with her." Get on the phone with, get on a Zoom call, not phone, Zoom. So we're like looking at each other face to face on video. And she is like drilling me with question after question, like I'm on Shark Tank. And I'm like, what in the hell is this? Like, what did I get myself into? And then she asked me, Steve, she's like, "Did you think that was me that sent you the message?" And I'm like, "I don't even know." Like, I just replied, I'm like, "I don't know." She's like, "It wasn't." Like, she was prideful of her whole
Gosh.
system of being able to manipulate people. And I'm like, what is this? I was like, is this really? I unfriended her. I unblocked her. I was like, wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. It made for a very funny video though. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to have to send it to you because I think you'll really enjoy it. Like, my videographer put memes from like Michael Jordan, like, "Please get help, please."
Speaking of which, are you getting, I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm a guy, I don't know, but I'm getting these messages from, whether they come through LinkedIn or they come to my cell phone, "Hi." And it's like it looks like some Asian person. I just came to the States and I'm looking for a friend, and it's all scammy. It's like, I've messed around to see where it goes. And it always ends up with, "Let's get on Telegram or WhatsApp." And then I know, all right, this is where this is
Oh,
going.
yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I do. I get those. And I think the random messages on LinkedIn, there's just, you're right. It's just, mine is just hi. 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 You're really pretty. Well, that's great. Thank you. I'm just like, good. Can we just stop this? Like, let's just end this. Let's just end this. All right. Gary Rogers has a comment here that says, "I've been pitch slapped a lot lately, but I turned one person into more of a relationship after sharing what things would work better with LinkedIn connections." And it's like the book you just said, that perhaps he went in and the other person's been so burned by other people that just keep pitch slapping over and over and over. It's like, change your approach. So I put a shout out to Bob Berg. I love Bob Berg. I was actually given the book The Go Giver from a friend at church, and it changed my life. I went out and bought the whole series. I read every single one of them. I swear by them. I was part of the Go Giver community for a bit. I've had Bob and John on the show, to talk about some things. I've even had John and Anna on the show to talk about the Go Giver marriage when they released that book. Like, to be connected on a first name basis and to have your favorite author on speed dial is like epic.
That's pretty cool. That's epic. Yeah, we had Bob on too. I want to just maybe reflect off of, what was the gentleman that chimed in? Was it Gary?
Yes, it's Gary.
Okay, Gary. I just have this. I don't know if this is what you're saying, but I have attempted to, number one, in a very kind of Christian, very humane kind of way, teach people and lightly slap them, if you will. All right. So, and this is what I write back when I get the pitch. I write, "Hi, I really appreciate the aggressive approach, but to be honest, I'm big on doing business with people I know, like, and trust. I much prefer to get to know someone before I'm ready to be presented something. However, I'm open to having a call, not to hear the pitch, but to really get to learn more about each other professionally. If we feel good after that, we can have a follow-up meeting to learn more about your product or services. I hope that makes sense." And I've been able to turn it around occasionally to an actual connect call. And hopefully, if it doesn't, I'm hopefully giving them a message. Listen, don't pitch me. If you want to get to know me, get to know me. Don't pitch me.
Yes, I have a story that actually just happened this week, and I think you'll get a kick out of it because it kind of is in alignment with what Gary just said. And hey, Bruce, good to see you. So I am a contractor at a real estate broker's office, and I'm sitting here and I do a lot of marketing and promotions for them. Shout out to Arizona Elite Properties. And as I'm sitting here in my office, I have my door shut, and we're in kind of one of those offices where everything is glass. Like, even though I have my class door shut, people can still see me.
Yep.
So there's a guy that's walking through the office, and he is a Geico representative. And I don't even know how he got back there because we don't really have a gatekeeper. It's just a bell. But he just decides to walk through the office and start giving out his flyers to everybody. And he actually slams into my door as a joke. And I was like, come on in. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, come on in. And he's like, I just wanted to give you my flyers. And I was like, great. Okay. And I was like, do you know what we do here? And he's like, no. I'm like, we're a real estate brokerage and your services may be needed. I would actually like to invite you to a group that we have where we have a group that services homeowners. And you seem like you would be a great fit. And I actually turned it around and invited him to come to a meeting so he could get to know people to perhaps have those referral sources. But I was like, this, what you just did, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, do not come in soliciting all the stuff and just dropping fly. And it was just funny because he comes in, Steve, and he's like, oh, I'm just here to give you my flyer. And I was like, I already have it. You already put it on my desk. So he's been in multiple times soliciting, just dropping flyers on everybody's desk, whether you're there or not. And so I'm like, isn't this you? And he's like, that is me. And I'm like, I have it, but I'll take another one and I will send you the message to go ahead and register and come to this meeting because I think it would be more worthwhile than you going around and dropping all your stuff at everybody's desk that doesn't want it. It was unsolicited, you know? Yeah. That's the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Turning around, giving somebody the indirect message of, hey, you may want to do something different. I love that.
Yeah. I was like, let me teach you something that
Yeah.
may work better for you. And he was
Mhm.
like, and you know what, Steve, when I sent him the message of here's the registration link, we'd love to see you, it's coming up. He was so appreciative. He was just like, oh my gosh, thank you. I will be there. I'm registering today. I really want to come to this. I'm like, great. I think it'll be worth your while.
It's great. Hopefully he doesn't think that because he dropped a bunch of flyers constantly, that's why he got this opportunity. Hopefully he understands the message of you probably want to connect better with people, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see. But I thought that was a really cool story of,
That's great.
no, but all right, we have some comments that have come in. I know Bruce said here, and hello to those of you joining us on Facebook. I see you. Great to have you. Don't be a stranger. Say hi. Bruce says, I try to show people how to use the 4 C's: conversations, connections, community leads to collaborations. Yes, yes, more yes. All right, Royce saying you can always find something on a profile you can relate to: school, hobbies, etc. So there's no excuse for all that stuff. Mm-hmm. True. Very true.
Very true.
I have a question for you, Steve. Okay, based on what Royce just said, that you can always find something to relate to, what is something that someone has related you with being on LinkedIn? That they've sent you a message, they've read your profile, and they're like, yes, I am that same person. Can you share? Because I have something I'll share too. I think it'll be fun.
I mean, I get the easy ones because it says master connector. So they say, I'm a connector too. I figure we connect. I mean, that one, I've had people that dig in and they actually read my about section. By the way, I heard LinkedIn is changing the formatting of how things are going to be on the profile. Yeah,
Okay.
apparently the about section is going to go up higher or something like that. But they read that I'm an introvert by nature, shy, and they say I can relate. I was like that. And then martial arts. Sometimes people, message me because I have a martial arts background. So those are the few things that people relate to on my side. How about you?
So one of the things I do, so here's a great tip for people is yes, people can go to your about section, but I did years ago, I put up, and you might have seen it, Steve, I put up a get to know me post, and it was really just saying thanks to the 11,000 friends that I have on this platform, but I really laid out a story in bulleted emoji form of, hey, I want you to get to know me just a little bit. Like I want to dive in a little bit deeper. And I shared things like I cry in Hallmark movies and Disney commercials and all that. I shared that my two weaknesses in life are a chorizo burrito or chorizo breakfast burrito and dark chocolate everything. And it was interesting to me how many people sent me messages just based on my choice of food, that they love chorizo burritos. And they talked to me about what they like in their burritos and if they like green or red salsa. And I was like, that's a connection. Maybe then when they think of a chorizo burrito, they'll be like, Tish is probably eating a chorizo burrito too.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. It could be, I'm a dog lover. I've got kids. I'm a club soccer mom. Like, it doesn't always have to be something professional. It could be just something that you enjoy doing that others are like, I love it. I do it too. I
yeah,
love Zumba class. Okay, great. Then we have something in common.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
And to that point, and I love that idea, and I'm assuming you're pinning that
I
particular
do.
message. Okay, good.
Very
Yep,
first thing
that's
you
smart.
see actually on the profile. I think I'm going to revamp it a little bit just to update it, but it's
Yeah.
there. Hmm.
And then also my hack is to also, in addition to that, make sure your about section has not just business stuff. Start with something that's engaging, that is about you, that maybe is a little transparent, a little, like I mentioned, I say being a shy and introvert, the last thing I would ever thought about is I'd be considered the master connector. That's kind
Hmm.
of how my profile about section starts. And it draws you in, right? Because, no, again, nobody wants to be pitched. So if you start with, well, I am a marketing expert and, I'm like, next.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. I know, Gary, you have a big response here. So I'm going to put it up here, but Steve and I will also look at it later, just for time's sake, because I think that's good. It's really good. But yeah, if you're about real people, then you'll go about it a different way, right? All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah. See, I love this. Okay, Gary. So Gary and I have never met, but we've been in each other's lives for several years now. And he just talked about, I've never met you, but would connect anyone I know to you and knowing you will be more of a giver. So, what did you say earlier, Steve? It was really about the know, like, trust factor,
Sure.
right? Like, you want to get to
Yep.
know someone, you want to like them, then you want to establish trust with them because it makes you feel good to be supporting what they do.
And I want to say something else. Like, a lot of times people are very apprehensive about building a large network on LinkedIn because they're like, well, I don't know if I can't speak to somebody, why would they be in my network? Well, that's an example, Gary. You've never spoken, right? Never met, but yet he's referring you. He's feels good about it. And that's because you're, you know, putting out content, you're giving, you're being a thought leader, right? And again, if you're going to just come on LinkedIn and use it as a resume, what I'm saying doesn't apply. But if you're going to use it for a platform that you can really talk about valuable things for people, they're going to really look at you as somebody that they can, I do introductions all the time
Hmm.
where I'll do like a three-way message with somebody if I appreciate them, and I'll introduce them to somebody perhaps I've never met, and I often get a good response because people value and respect me because of what I put out on the, and even though we may not have met, they still appreciate the introduction.
I think it's again, it's like the content you put out there. You shared authenticity, vulnerability, all these things. People really get a good sense of who you are, what your character is like, your personality. I mean, I could talk about this for days. I do branding for people and myself. So it's like what you put out there is what you want people to receive from you. That when you finally get on these one on one calls, they're like, I feel like I've known you for years even though we
Absolutely.
just only met. So
That's right.
it is about the connection. It is about what you put out there and what comes
Yep.
back. And all right, well, we could go on and
We
on and
can.
on, but I want to ask some of these other questions too, so we keep getting into this conversation. But we talked about, what does authentic connections mean, and why do you feel like that's really important? Like we should, you said something a little earlier too, Steve, about if you're on LinkedIn, to do the resume, great. But if you're really there to make connection, and I really just put this aside because I'm sure you've seen this. I'm sure all of us have seen that LinkedIn, the algorithm is sucking again lately, and you're not getting the views, you're not getting that. But I've always put in my mind, and I always I always credit Royce for this, is like, to me, it's really about the power of one. It's like, if one thing that I said resonated with you, then I'm already winning at this. But so many of us are like, I want more. I want more people, more comments, more likes. And we get so inundated with that it stresses us out. We're constantly checking. Why are we not getting the reach? And I'll be honest, I know some of those people that go viral and they can't keep up. They don't have connections. It's very surface level. They've never met anyone out in real life. So talk to me about, why is that so important about creating this authentic connection with people and not caring about the metrics and the numbers and the virality of this?
Well, you got some golden nuggets there. I know you have a new clip feature, so you should be clipping
I
the things
just
you
did.
said.
I was like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna press B because that was on fire.
that was great. But you're right. I mean, listen, one connection, one person, you could change their life, and to me, that's why we're here on this planet. If we could touch one life, so it's not about the quantity; it's about quality. And obviously, that's sort of a cliche, but it's true. And so making real connection. You don't know who that person, what can happen from to that person in terms of their life, who they know. You just don't know. So making a true connection, it's not about quantity.
Yeah.
But to kind of dig deeper on authenticity, I mean, I kind of touched on it before. It's just being able to really share from your heart. I love this. When I have connect calls with people, and I do encourage everybody that I connect with. So if you are seeing me on Tisha Talks here, and you're like, I'm going to connect with that guy, Steve Spiro, expect this, by the way. You're going to get a message from me saying we should get on a call. Okay. I'm just telling you
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, what good is being connected if you don't know much about the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I get on a call with you, you're going to hear. I mean, I like to hear your story and journey, and I want to tell you mine. But because what happens is, and I've had many calls where the person gets emotional. They're like, and they're like, I don't think I've shared this with anybody, and I'm sharing with you. We just met. And that's because I'm sharing my vulnerability. It breaks walls down. And when you break walls down, people start to really, it's like they're the two kids playing in the sandbox. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like, and you want to do business with people like and trust. How do you get to that place if you start with just business? You start
Yeah.
with sort of the personal stuff, and then you get to like each other. And
Mm-hmm.
then if it makes sense to do business, you can do business. But so I think it's so valuable if you could just, break those walls down, and people aren't going to just share some of those things until you do it first. So get comfortable. And as I said before, in our weakness is power. You could share. I mean, obviously, if you're still dealing with those challenges on a very, current basis, and it's going to bring up some really ugly stuff for you, okay, maybe not that. But things that you've kind of mastered by this point, right? Like, I don't really feel like I'm ever picked on and bullied anymore. So I
Yeah.
could share about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it did affect my self-esteem, and still to a degree that comes up every now and then. By the way, I always played the comparison game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd look at even like you, Tisha, and I'll be like, she's amazing. She's got great energy. She's got a great show. And I was always play the comparison game, and I'd always lose, right?
Mm.
But I realized that I'm always going to be a second class Tisha. I'm going to be a first class me. And
Yeah.
so,
First
and
class.
I got peace within myself because of that. And I started to realize, I have value. And if you're listening to us, you have value. You understand you do. And the world needs to hear from you, and they need to hear your story. And don't feel like that's being selfish, because you will inspire people by telling your story. If it's, again, not your pitch, but your story, because we all have struggles, we all have challenges. One of my four pillars of our show, we have a master connector show. I think you alluded
Yeah.
to it.
Yep. I think I've been on
Wednesdays at
it.
1 p.m. Eastern. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the pillars of the show is having the grit to overcome obstacles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's key to success, and then sharing about those obstacles in communicating. And of course, another pillar is connecting authentically. So it's super important for creating true connection, is when you are vulnerable, and you don't just try to protect people from hearing about some of your challenges or weaknesses. It's like we talked about in that Betcher book. He said, here's one other thing he said in that book. Great book.
Yeah.
He said, when you're scared, if you're at a sales call, and he writes in the book, and you're a little intimidated by the person, admit it. Say, John, Mr. Smith, I just got to say, I'm really intimidated here, and I got to just tell you, I'm just a little nervous. And he said the guy just basically put his arm around him and said, "Don't
Yeah.
worry about it," and he helped him out.
Yeah.
So just be vulnerable.
Admitting that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting because I've been on LinkedIn for quite a few years now, and I and Gary put up here, authenticity. Most people know if you're faking it. I think I can also be a good reader, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, Steve. And then we'll start wrapping it up just for time's sake. But there's some people that I mentioned that really are on there to go viral. Like that's their whole goal is more and more and more and more followers. And I remember commenting on this particular person's post because I really liked him. I really liked his character. I liked what he was saying. He was vulnerable. So I connected with him on that level. And I sent him a direct message. I was like, I'm really inspired and I love your post. I would love it if you and I could find time for like a virtual latte Zoom call. And I was very pleasantly surprised when he's like, no, I think I'm okay. Like he kind of just shut the door on it.
it seems contradictory.
It was
Seems totally.
news. I was just like, wow, wow. I
Yeah,
don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. And it's put such a
yeah,
bad taste in my mouth that I'm like, I don't think I really want to support you like I did. Like I just
yeah.
was like, Lee, like I thought that's what we're here for, the power of real connection. Yet you just shut the door on me and you have no idea what I could have contributed to this connection.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I get that also. It just doesn't to me it doesn't make sense. Like what exactly? Why are we on here? Yeah, it's crazy.
But I still see him hyping himself up, getting all these viral posts going, and I'm like, good for you, but I'm not a fan or a friend. And I'm like, you missed out, sir. You
Absolutely.
missed
Yes, he did.
out.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. Even Gary saying, "Wow, I delete those." Yeah, I think you really know who's in your corner, who's not, who you want. It's kind of that whole thing of like surround yourself with 5 people that you really want to be around, right? That whole thing. Yeah, same thing. Like I know who I want to be around, and if you're gonna make a judgment call against me because I complimented you that I really like you and I would like to get to know you better, I wasn't hitting on you. Let's just be clear. I'm married with kids. But the fact that he was like, no, I'm good. I'm like, oh, are we going to play that game?
Crazy.
It just made me laugh. Makes for a great story to tell and laugh about
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Gary's saying, humble is inviting, prideful bragging makes me want to connect. All right. Oh, goodness. All right, Steve. Well, I know we're at time and I want to wrap the show. I want to give you your shameless plugs. Tell us, I know you have some big visions on the horizon. Tell us like how people can connect with you, what's going on in your world, and yeah, take us home.
Thank you for the opportunity. You could connect with me on LinkedIn or go to stevespiro.com. The easiest way to get me. There's also, if you want to hire me as a speaker, it's spiro-global.com. It's one of my sites. Go there, but you can all get that right from stevespiro.com. And yeah, my vision is to be on a TEDx stage, to be paid event, and which is sort of a stepping stone to the real goal, which is to be paid to travel the world, speak and inspire and be a beacon of light. And really, I believe that TEDx talk will be kind of like a kicking point for that. I obviously enjoy speaking, but I do want to, I love traveling. It's a big thing that my wife and I love doing. And why not wrap speaking in with that as well and being able to touch people's lives around the world, not just through an electronic platform here, which is phenomenal, but just through, actually shaking people's hands and being in front of people. So it's a huge goal for mine, but I know we'll accomplish it.
I know you will. I have total faith in you, Steve, that it's going to happen. Well, good stuff. Well, everybody, thanks so much for being on. For those of you who joined us live, awesome commenting, great questions. And then for those of you who are watching the replay, always reach out to us if you have any additional questions or if you'd like to connect. We're not strangers here, we're friends. So make sure you send a connection and a personal note. I will say that, like, say to Steve, I saw you on Tisha's show, just so he knows where you're coming from, and connect. That's what we're talking about today, the power of real connection. I can honestly say my connections have just made so much of a difference in my life. And I know even Bruce sharing some things in the comments about our connection. So that's what it's about. You cannot do life without community and connections. I'm convinced in that. Would you agree, Steve?
100%. It's all about connection. It's all about community, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So happy Friday, everybody. If you're in Arizona or Connecticut, stay dry. I know it's going to be a rainy weekend. I'm actually headed to San Diego for some soccer, which is also being rained out, which is quite fun. Whatever. I'm driving to San Diego for one game, Steve.
How long is that? Is that 4 hours for you? How far is
It's
that?
like 6 hours for me.
Oh my gosh, that's like a day. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
The beauty, so I'm looking at the silver lining in it that, okay, I'm not staying in a hotel. I'm actually staying with my cousin that's about my age, and I just love her. So shout out to Janelle. I'm bringing my mom along for this road trip. So it's mom, son, and me time. So I'm like, hey, you know what? One game is fine. We'll just make the most of it. Get a little bit of a relaxation. We will not be hitting the beach at San Diego, but we'll just have good family time. So I'm excited about that for this weekend.
Well, enjoy it. I think it would in the west of the states. You guys like driving a lot, and here in New York, I don't think we like driving too much. 6 hours, I would take a plane.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, goodness. Well, good stuff. All right. Thanks, Steve, for being on the Master Connector. Make sure you connect with him at stevespiro.com. If you are on a TEDx board somewhere, this is the guy you want to have on your show. He just has some amazing content and some great insight. And I know that's going to happen. So everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay warm. Catch you back next week on another Tisha Talks Live at 10:45. I appreciate all of you. I love you for being on, and we'll see you next time. All right.
See you soon. Thanks, Tish.
See ya.